Yeah, he sounds like a hot dog that you put in the microwave for too long and it just like shrivels up, and then eventually, the half-life on those things, regardless of the amount of nitrates pumped into them, they'll go spoiled, and it's a crude metaphor for life and his life. But
you're referring to the guy as a rotten hot dog.
All right, so
I mean, honestly, if you just look at the two side by side,
skinny, wrinkly, brown, tasty,
but incredible calves.
So Musso's opening night last night. Musso and Frank Grill. You familiar?
They didn't bother do outside dining on Hollywood Boulevard?
Well, I did a little investigation last night. The people that own the building, or the people that run the place, own the entire building. So there was no rent to pay. They're flush. They just sat it out for a year. I don't know what they did with their staff. You probably want to pay the career waiters that.
That's what the government's for, Dylan.
Okay. So
they got $1,200, $600, and then $1,400. They should be fined.
Yeah, they should be fined for 365 days living in Los Angeles.
Actually, unemployment for an average waiter got bumped up to almost $1,000 a week.
Oh, word! I was talking about the stimmies.
Yeah,
the hot
stimmies were a little thin. Hot stimmies were a little thin. But.
Just to give some perspective on Musso and Frank's, it's the oldest restaurant in Hollywood.
One of them, yeah, like top 3. It's like Philippe's.
It says it on the.
Well, they're wrong about that. Philippe's, Pacific Dining Cart, and Musso's are the 3 oldest restaurants in Los Angeles. I think Philippe's takes the crown, but it's a French dip place. It's not really a restaurant. It is charming. It's got its kitsch.
For people that aren't from here, to really put it in perspective, it was in the first scene of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes.
They go to Musso's, and I watched it with my grandma, and I was like, I've been there, and she loved that.
Yeah.
She loved that little anecdote.
Yeah, Leo and Al Pacino sit down to a martini or two at Musso's while Brad Pitt is drinking a Bloody Mary. So.
Oh, sorry to interrupt at the final time.
No, that's okay.
All right, so people used to always, when they're visiting Los Angeles.
It doesn't need to be a final time.
Are you sure?
That's what it is.
Positive.
Oh, okay.
It's a free-flowing conversation.
If you ever come to Hollywood, Los Angeles, you go to Universal Studios, Disneyland, wherever you're going to do.
Don't go to either one of those places.
Well, definitely don't go to the beaches either. You'd be scared to death. It looks like the set of Zombieland.
Yeah.
Musso and Frank's almost 100% shot of seeing a celebrity if you pop in there for a lunch.
You have a good shot. Yeah.
So if you want to see celebrities, go there or Mr. Chow. You'll always see a celebrity there.
So we went last night, opening night, and I went through peaks and troughs of joy and rage. And I don't know if you guys have examples of this in your life, but last night was a shining example that I'm getting a little bit older. As you said, Musso's is drenched in history. The dining room is kind of Godfather gangster meets a little bit of eloquence, Mm-hmm. There were people in that restaurant last night in Hawaiian shirts and shorts. And I am looking around like I'm some kind of robber baron in a 3-piece, which I was not. But I am just looking around the room genuinely disgusted with what is going on in society. And I felt like an 80-year-old man.
Now, Dylan, because average age of a customer in that place is
65.
80. Yeah. But I will say this. I believe they must have pulled back the
dress code?
Dress code, because I want to say that it was no shorts allowed, and you had to wear shoes, too.
They absolutely pulled back the dress code, and we got into a little bit of a debate at the table, and I said that it was a lack of courage on the ownership's part to maintain a strict dress code. Why kowtow to the filth of Hollywood Boulevard? Make your establishment what it's been for the last 100 years. Don't allow people to walk into the restaurant in khaki shorts, baseball hats, and Hawaiian. I lost it. I was just like, it was so enraging.
I have experience with the owner of Musso and Frank's,
yeah,
which was a 25-year-old kid at the time. He'd be 35 now. He was the grandnephew of the original owner.
Right.
And when I had a tour company down there, I used to have, little scary people trying to sell tours walking by the entrance to Musso and Frank's.
Yeah.
And he knocked on my door one day, and he said, "Can we speak?" And I said, "Are those your salespeople?" And I said, "Yes, they are."
Right.
Are they disrespecting you? He said, "Let me just say this." And I quote, "There's a new sheriff in town," because he had just taken over the restaurant.
Got it.
And he says, "If I see that anymore, there's going to be a problem."
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. This guy, he really is. He's a dweeb. He's not good at what he does. All of the old dudes who had been there for 40, 50 years, who were, I mean, these career waiters, Ruben and Sergio, these dudes bring in $250,000 a year in tips and just their tables. I mean, it's a greasy palm kind of restaurant where you're handing out Benjamins to maitre d's and whatnot.
Oh yeah. So explain lifetime waiter. So I think in most small towns they don't understand. It's being a waiter at the Olive Garden is.
I think in small towns they do know lifetime waiters. It just doesn't have kind of the romanticism.
Gravitas.
It's like, oh, that's Jan.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right, that's Jan.
She's been here for a long fucking time.
Right.
She has 7 children, 3 men.
Musso and Frank's staff, wait staff, have worked there when TV was still black and white.
Yeah.
They were born before that.
Right.
And have worked there. So
Yeah.
there's like a lot of 68-year-old maitre d's and waiters.
Who know
Totally.
Dylan by name.
Yeah. And it's a thing where they're not happy about the way that the restaurant is going. They're not happy with trash being let in the door, Hawaiian shirts in the dining room.
Taurus.
And quite frankly, Sergio, rest in peace. I mean, he's an old man. He's an immigrant. Was not happy about the influx of gay employees.
Now, how do you know all this? What happened? Were you talking with the wait staff last night? Like, how did you know they got a lot of pushback against the new kind of way that the place
Well,
is
we
being
were
run?
talking to Sergio's son-in-law,
Okay.
Alex, and he was telling us about it, and a little part conjecture, part rumor, hearsay, part concreteness. You put it all together to form a very sad picture because it's disheartening. It's the restaurant is such a beautiful, beautiful landmark of Los Angeles, and I don't think that it's wrong to tell people you can't look like that to eat in here.
Right.
I don't know how you would feel comfortable, period, being in that dining room looking like that. I think
They don't know.
they don't know.
No, and a lot of people that visit Hollywood and kind of look at it as it's a museum. That there's something there engaging in, almost like an experience. Like,
Yeah.
oh, we're gonna go eat at Musso and Frank's, but we're gonna wear jorts and
Right.
and a Tommy Bahama shirt.
It's
We're tourists. This is what we're doing. We're experiencing. It's like being in the Millennium Falcon at Disneyland.
right, exactly, yeah, exactly.
You're Han Solo, but you're dressed in Hawaiian shorts.
Do you think you would dress up to go to a restaurant like that, right?
I just always have pretty nondescript clothing that, like, I think is
It's not offensive.
it's appropriate attire for most
Right,
places.
right.
So yeah, I know how to act, right?
Yeah,
Hey,
you know how to act, right?
Can I tell you an establishment in Hollywood that has not kowtowed to the mob that wishes to just water everything down,
Right.
all inclusive for everybody can come in,
Yeah.
is the Magic Castle.
Yeah.
If
Oh,
you ever
yeah.
visit Los Angeles, not a lot of people know about it. You gotta basically you gotta know somebody, but you really don't to get a pass in there. You call any magic store in Hollywood, and they'll put your name on the list. That's a little secret.
Much better way to do it. The worst way is to know a magician because you don't want to know magicians.
No, you don't.
You don't want to know magicians.
They're like bad musicians. All they learned how to do magic and play with cards to get their dicks.
I
out.
was gonna say open micers. Like you just don't. It's not a good tether to have.
They
to a
make you
human
wear. If you don't show up there with a tie, they have a closet full of
Yeah,
them.
a
It's
magic
wonderful.
closet, yeah.
You go there on Thursday nights. That's where they let all the magicians in for free. They're gonna try and fuck your date. That's what scumbags these are. But it's a magical night, to just put it.
Right.
It was one of my favorite nights ever in LA. I actually showed up without the coat. I had shirt and tie on, but no coat.
Yeah, they gave you one.
They gave me one. It was the best fitting jacket. It was a magic jacket. I put on.
Who'd you go with?
This girl, actually a mutual friend of Dylan and I's, who didn't end well. But she.
Oh yeah, I know.
She.
I just asked her to read my pilot.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Did you say no thanks? You tried to hook me up with that.
She said
dickhead Nick.
she tried to say no, but I kind of said I really need you to.
Oh,
And he didn't hook us up. We met on Hinge.
oh, okay.
But anyway.
I sound like a magician right now. Hey, can you read my spec?
But I told her early on, I was like, oh, that's something I've always wanted to do. It sounds really fun. And she DM'd a bunch of magicians and got tickets. That's how you do it. If you're a girl, but you don't have to be tethered to them.
No.
So she.
My wife is, and it's like it's an uncomfortable thing. Like, I want to go to the Magic Castle, and she's like, ugh, I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to.
Here's the answer to that. Don't. She DM'd some magicians. some nice young Asian fellow who was on America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
Killed it. He responded, got us some tickets. We didn't talk to him the whole time. We did go to his show. In one of the
It was a good show.
Yeah,
Good
great
show.
Great show. The guy was on America's Got Talent, and talent he has.
And now the difference between Magic Castle and Musso's is the food at Magic Castle is just a hair above what Spirit Airlines has to offer, and it's
overpriced.
and it's $80
and they
head.
force you to do it. That's one of the
Right.
that's one of the downsides.
Right,
of
but
it.
you don't have to do that. You can go and explore the other rooms, but you do have a rather an evening with that's lacking in structure. But it can be a lot of fun, and you can get pissed at that place.
I
as
actu-
the Brits would
Oh
say.
yes.
I think it's
Shit face.
I think it's much better to do what you just choose your own adventure in there,
Right.
because you go through the hallways and there's different rooms, different bartenders, and then all of a sudden you bartender, you're like, hey, can you do some magic? He's like, actually I can.
Yeah.
And he's able to do magic.
Blows
And then we
you
hooked
away.
up in one of the off rooms. It was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
And dare I say, one of the more charming aspects about it is that everyone's dressed up to the nines.
Yes.
Everyone looks pretty. They're at their best. They got their suit on and the dresses, and
Coming
it's wonderful.
off a pandemic, why would you not take the opportunity to feel like you're doing something? You know, like why would you go to Musso's on opening night after a year of sweatpants and dress like we're in April 2020? It just drives me crazy.
Hey, can I throw this kind of like a off topic, but kind of in topic, on topic?
Yeah.
I've always been confused by clubs and the guy with the clipboard out front.
Sure.
And so you got a
Very
group.
powerful man.
Right. Oh, yeah. At that moment, he's God. And the club is popping, and you got 200 people waiting to get outside. And this guy is the decider. So you got 4 girls from Riverside that just drove up 2 hours to get into this club. And one of them barks, says, "Hey, I've been standing here for an hour when I'm going in." And the guy turns to him and says, "You're never going in. You're fat pigs."
Yeah.
How does that club not get sued for fat discrimination? How does that still
Well, I
process
don't know that
work?
fat discrimination is a legal
It
umbrella.
is.
But
And I think I guess I don't club that much, but I think rarely does he actually use those words. I
when
think
you
it's
say
just
you don't
known.
club that much, you mean you don't club at all?
Ever?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless except the Magic Castle, it's a club.
I can't let you in because you old as fuck. For this club, not, for the earth.
So, well, anyways, I don't mean to sound like, Gran Torino, but I really did just look around and I felt, I don't know, I just don't like the way society's going. And I really don't like the way Los Angeles is going. Like, this is a town that is supposed to at least uphold at least a facade of pomp and circumstance. And now it's just like, what are we doing?
Can I ask what you were wearing?
I was wearing a suede jacket. I was at the cusp of what's acceptable, just because I haven't been shopping. I've gained a lot of weight. I can't really wear all my nice clothes anymore, but I was wearing a suede jacket, black polo, jeans, and moccasins, on the cusp of what should be allowed in that place.
Moccasins.
Hawaiian shirt? And what? Anyways, this is another podcast show.
Right.
It's the show where we gab and goof about whatever we want, whatever is at top of mind. I'm Dylan, saddled up next to one real Nicholas Davis.
What's going on, everybody?
That producer of the podcast is over there behind my glass.
Hi, guys. How are you?
So, a lot of stuff to get into tonight. Nick is going to talk about a deceased coworker, I believe, and then I would like to get into a brand new segment called A Little History with a Little Dill, where we'll talk about the filthy, homophobic homosexual that is Roy Cohn.
I have no idea who this person is. I'm looking forward to it.
Do you have any idea?
No.
All right. Fun story, exciting story, engaging, and a little piece of history, a little piece of Americana. But first, let's talk about your dead coworker.
Actually, all the things you just mentioned actually perfectly apply to mine.
Perfect.
A little bit of history and all the other things you said.
Perfect.
So last APS, we talked about Pat brought in the idea to talk about bad coworkers.
Coworkers from hell.
Really, really great time, but I do think it's kind of a microcosm of what's wrong with society today. We're always focusing on the negative.
Focus
Right.
on the positive.
Yeah,
We're addicted to silver linings.
We are, and so I want to talk about a really good coworker of mine that I had, who really took me under his wing when I first came to Los Angeles.
Okay.
So as people may have put the pieces together, I quit my job on a whim, and within a week drove to Los Angeles to live in my car and pursue my dream of podcasting.
Yeah.
It worked
Yeah.
against all odds. But yes, I lived in my 300 my Jetta. My diesel Jetta that had 300,000 miles.
And really quickly, that Nick's life story goes to show you, if you set the bar low enough, you can shatter through glass ceilings.
It's increasingly what I feel nowadays. I'm like, man, I should have had loftier goals.
Yeah.
Because now I'm here, and I'm searching for meaning.
Do you guys hear that? It's going in and out in my cans. Are we all good?
I am, yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Continue. It's not Turbo that died, right?
No, Turbo
Okay,
is, I'm sure, alive and kicking somewhere
Okay,
with a
great.
severe liver disease.
Yep.
But so I was
Yikes.
living in my car, and I had a job when I moved out here. A buddy of mine who was working out here, his brother-in-law was a location manager. He got me a job on movie sets, and it was really cool, actually. You got to be on commercials, movies, what have you, but you were the lowest rung on the totem pole. We were called we were the portion of the production called layout. You would be the first ones in and the last ones out, and you go into people's homes or businesses, and you put mats on the floor and corrugated cardboard on the walls.
Right.
You were essentially insurance, so the homeowner or business owner could not sue the production.
Yeah, people don't know how many grunts or ants are crawling around a production set. You know, like there are, if you ever go to a set, there are tons of people that are either non-union or union, and the people who are unionized are like, what are you doing? And they're like, I have to sit here for 2 hours. I can't touch anything.
And
It's
I'm
like,
not supposed to be talking to you. Please don't
how-
look at me.
How much do you make a year? $185,000.
Dude, I once got paid on the movie Evan Almighty.
Great movie,
There's
yeah.
a fish tank in there. It's about a 10-gallon tank. I got paid $120 that was called the Fish Wrangler.
Yeah.
To just sit.
Right.
I ate lunch with the cast.
Right.
It was a wonderful day.
Yeah.
And then I was bragging about how much money I was making, and one of the producers came over and said, "Hey, keep that little tight lip there. You don't want to upset
Yeah,
anybody."
yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
"Oh, right.
Right.
Sorry, Nick."
You never talk about your green.
No apologies necessary. You guys are really adding to like what we did.
tapestry,
We were
yeah.
grunts who weren't supposed to look anybody in the eye.
Right.
And it was called Mat Men. That was the company. And
Great name.
Great name.
Great name. Shout out Ken from Mat Men.
What's up, Ken?
Thanks for giving me that job. $15 under the table. And
Fine. All you need.
Early mornings, though.
You're
I'd
a
say.
homeless person.
early mornings, late on call. You would get calls at 3 a.m, and you'd be like, you got to get in your van and go party. I was a vagrant, so who knows? I wasn't
Right.
sleeping very well. I was in my vehicle.
Yeah.
But
You'd have to keep a hairline trigger on your rem because you don't know if somebody's going to bash your door and try to stick their dick in your mouth and rob you. You know? It's a terrible life.
Happens.
Happens all the time.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. But you worked in tandem. Everybody had a buddy at this job. There were two hilarious cholos, Rudy and Rudy. One was big and fat. One was small and skinny. Hilarious.
I bet they're both fat now.
No, I bet Rudy is just he's a
Kind of
slender
venturing
guy.
into racial. But anyways, just wanted to give you guys that warning.
How is that venturing in? They were cholos.
Cholo, bet he's fat. Just a warning.
I've said the line.
It's a caution flag. That's it.
Fair enough. I've said the line on the show before, but they're like, you know the biggest gang in L.A., don't you? The police. Those two told me that.
I agree,
that
baby. I agree.
That
Good one.
infamous line. They were great, and it's true. But
Oh yeah, it is.
just kidding. To keep us safe, go blue.
What?
I don't know what I believe.
Caution flag again. Caution flag.
What about these two characters?
Let's get to the story.
Everybody had a partner. There were two. These guys have been working for 10 years. I had a partner. His name was Jimmy. He was an old friend of Ken's. He moved from New York. He basically lived the life of Wolf of Wall Street and had a horrific crash due to addiction to coke and pills.
Yeah.
But still, incredible energy from Jimmy. At one point, Ken figured out I was living in my car, and he offered I could stay in the warehouse. So I started sleeping in the warehouse,
Right.
moved a box spring mattress,
Whoa.
surrounded this area with like 10 foot high of
Yeah,
mats.
Homes
I
of
had,
Bel Air, yeah.
yeah, I had my own room.
Right.
Well, Jimmy comes into town. He's on hard times. He needs a job from Ken and a place to stay. He also ends up staying at the warehouse. Jimmy really like spruced that place up, brought in plants. He brought in a solar powered shower.
You always said that you experimented with one guy. I didn't know that it was Jimmy.
I didn't fuck Jimmy. I want that to be clear right now.
okay, got it.
Jimmy was about 60.
The mystery continues.
60-ish, but he withered. You could tell Jimmy's just been through a lot.
Well, dude, he used to drive a Maserati, deal stocks on the 10th floor of the World Trade Center.
Lot of
Next thing you know,
cigs,
he's
yeah.
putting down plastic on the movie set with a guy who lives in his car. How could he not be a broken soul?
Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
But he wasn't a broken soul. He was so enthusiastic. Jimmy was the man. He sold pills to everybody we worked with.
Yeah.
And he was great. He was my road dog. So we get calls at 3 a.m. Have to go in vans all over the place. And
You didn't fuck him.
no, we just became really good buddies. He'd tell me stories. He was like, Nick, you got something. And he'd always like give me words of encouragement.
Yeah.
One time we're out at this big house we were in the hills that we were at a lot. It was this fashion mogul. I gotta find him.
Alexander McQueen.
You've never heard of him.
Steve Ford. What? Were those fashion designers that I
Who?
just listed? Steve Ford? Is that a person?
Steve Ford.
I'm just trying to vamp while you do your Googling.
Yeah, I found him. Damn it. Keep
It's all gonna stay in and
James Goldstein. Here we go.
To anybody in production, just know that Googling is dead air. So just be careful with that when you set your sails to into the seas of podcasting. This is what happens when you try to vamp. You don't speak very well. Wow. So this is the guy you fucked? Who is this?
No. I did not fuck any old men in this story.
Because this guy's a very old man.
Yeah, this guy's a very old man. This is at a Lakers game. If you watch Lakers game, this man's name is James Goldstein. He made his fortune off of fashion. He's at every Lakers game.
Catholic guy?
He frequently rents his house out to production. He probably gets like $100,000 a day. It's an insane house.
Sure.
Literally built like a bat cave in the side of a mountain, pools, whatever.
Now, Pat, paint a picture of this guy.
Well, he's got a very bedazzled jacket on, almost like he's performing in Vegas.
Right.
He looks like just a scary. It looks like a skeleton with white hair and a snakeskin hat.
Yeah, he looks like a gay crypt keeper. It's really terrifying stuff.
It's jarring.
Yeah.
I love gay crypt.
Thank you. Yeah,
Gay
I mean, it
crypt
just
keeper.
kind of.
I think this guy might have gotten in trouble lately.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, I think some Me Too is going on there.
Sure, yeah.
If you walk through the halls of his house, it's just with him and every celebrity he's ever encountered.
And women crucified to the walls.
And naked. There does have giant paintings of naked women all adorning his house.
Got it. Okay.
And yeah, so we were at his house it was probably my 10th time there. And he has a tennis court, and they were going to film near the tennis court. You had to cover the entire tennis court with these 3x6 mats. I rolled our cart out onto the tennis court.
Big no-no.
Like a fucking idiot.
Big no-no.
I spun it around, and there was just black mark
Ooh.
circle around it. And panic ensues. The location manager, who doesn't work for the production, he works for the house. He sees it. He's like, oh, my God, we got to keep this quiet.
I like this thinking. That's rather than, hey, fucknut, I got to rat you out now.
That's what I would have done if I were him.
Oh,
really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, doesn't that speak a lot to your character? Oh my God.
That's actually his job, to be honest.
Who am I sitting next to?
I was incompetent.
That's okay. That's not going to fix the problem.
And I'm just saying that. I wouldn't have actually done that to someone. But that, honestly, I would have blamed him if he did it. That is his job.
You don't have
I
to
fucked
yell.
up.
You're
It was
a rat.
stupid.
Don't worry about it.
I'm not a rat.
Well, it sounds like you are.
I'm not a rat.
Shut up. Shut the fuck up, you fucking ditzy bitch. I ain't never gonna be no fucking snitch.
So there's circle marks on this tennis court. Jimmy gets involved, and he's like, I got it. He runs into a trailer. He pees on a paper towel. He washes it off, and it clears the black mark like it was never there.
Jesus Christ.
In the meantime...
really quickly, can you take the picture of the gay crypt keeper down? Because I just don't want him looking at me like this throughout. Yeah, it's just really off-putting. I can't focus.
Fair enough. He's this extremely scary individual. And he would have flipped out if he found out what I did to his tennis court. Right. And even more so what Jimmy did to his tennis court.
Put piss all over it.
Yeah, but it looked clean. And we got out of there scot-free, and Jimmy and I's our adventures continued for a couple months after. I eventually leave Mad Men unceremoniously on a story I will tell when statute of limitations run out.
Right.
But Jimmy, so me and Jimmy, we would loosely text. We were Facebook friends.
Yeah.
And maybe 3 months ago, Facebook post, Jimmy had passed away. Most likely COVID got him. The guy smoked 2 packs a day.
Yeah.
Extremely sad. But I actually have some regret. He was like, Nick, how you doing? And I always meant to just go to the Map Man and just be like, hey, I kind of like did what I was telling you I wanted to do.
Yeah,
and I never did, and it's really just stuck with me. But Jimmy, great coworker.
Great coworker.
Great coworker. And you were Facebook friends. How'd you find out he was dead on Facebook? Someone post this guy's dead.
I'm friends with Ken's wife, and she posted that he was dead.
Ah.
The man was he was so vibrant. He'd bike all around. He'd bike 30 miles to Malibu, and he was like 60 something. It was.
He just smoked and smoked.
Let me tell you something, Nikki. When you're my age and you've reached the top of the hill and you're going on the other side of the hill,
Pat's
which is
old
down.
if you're a new listener.
About every month, someone I know dies now. It's like it's
Yeah.
accelerated pace.
Oh, for sure. I believe that. I talked to my grandma, and that's news with grandma who died. But so it's really sad. But Jimmy was just a man. A little regret that he never followed up with him. But God, good guy.
Yeah, he sounds like a hot dog that you put in the microwave for too long and it just like shrivels up, and then eventually, the half-life on those things, regardless of the amount of nitrates pumped into them, they'll go spoiled. And it's a crude metaphor for life and his life. But
You're referring to the guy as a rotten hot dog.
all right, so
I mean, honestly, if you just look at the two side by side,
skinny, wrinkly, brown, tasty.
but incredible calves. I will actually, just for the people at home.
Oh, stay.
See what he looks like?
You got a fucking you got a tough internet source here, and kids, remember,
Googling.
It's okay.
All right, we're not going to see Jimmy.
All right, we're not going to see Jimmy. So I hope that I can match that tale with as much fervor and as much passion. I have been reading this horrific book that I told you guys about called The Devil's Chessboard, about the horrific crimes committed by the Central Intelligence Agency, specifically under the reign of one Allen Dulles. The book is chock full of unbelievably rich vignettes. That's Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, he looks great there.
He does.
He looks fantastic.
He does.
there.
He was at a wedding. It's the best you'll ever look. He looks great. He's a vibrant individual.
He's got Coke shades on.
He
no
was a-
way you can tell his pupils are the size of.
I can tell by
craters.
his hair, he had a great life.
Oh yeah, he was a good-looking dude. Too,
I really
in his
can.
younger
Your
days.
hair defines you.
Does it really?
Yeah, you see, there's certain hair you're like, oh, that person.
What does my hair say about me?
Very confused.
Just in general?
Yeah. Very
A rudderless kind of thing?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
You're confused.
I'm confused.
Got it.
Yes,
okay,
yes,
got
yes.
it. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so incredibly upset that I didn't go visit this man, but
it's okay.
I will push.
That's all right.
Well, so let me tell you guys a little bit about Roy Cohn. Now, you guys remember the McCarthy era, Red
Yes.
Scare, blacklisting, Cold War. Pat, you might have actually watched the hearings.
No, but I saw the movie about it with Robert De Niro in it.
What movie is that?
I forget. It came out. It's Michael Madsen and yeah, it came out like 1992. It was the first time I had an understanding of all that craziness that took place.
Craziness that took place.
One could argue that something's happening now, but it's the exact opposite.
One could argue. I don't think that we're quite there yet. I'll make this point later, but you could easily argue that Senator Joe McCarthy was probably the most powerful senator in the history of the United States government. You can make the argument, but this is a story about Roy Cohn. Now,
hold on. Why don't you set up what the McCarthy hearings were about?
Well,
so our listeners...
I will right
Okay.
now. So, Roy Cohn is was a notorious homosexual and an evil bitch. Now, I call him an evil bitch for good reason. He's not evil because he's gay. He's evil for a multitude of reasons. Chief among them, Roy Cohn dragged people in front of national television and humiliated them for being gay. He was a reverse homophobe.
Oh.
Being gay in the 1950s wasn't as fabulous as it was today. And this guy was a notorious cocksucker. He literally sucked cock.
He did.
I don't think a reverse homophobe. It's a self-loathing homophobe.
Is that it?
More, because it's not reverse. He doesn't hate straights.
Was a reverse racist.
A glowing
says-
example
Right.
of those who preach too much or whatever.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
thou
exactly.
doth profess.
So
Protest, yeah.
Roy was McCarthy's legal assassin. He was chief counsel for a lot of the un-American activities hearings, which was a period during the beginning of the Cold War where communism and the fear of communism was used as a boogeyman to justify tons of horrific things that we did. Chief among them, giving Joseph McCarthy the power to slaughter people on national television and cut their careers heads off for no reason.
It was the
all.
first time I understood the word blacklist, which is if you were an actor or an actress in the 40s and 50s and you were kind of glomming onto the idea of the, what was the Russian, or communism was the great something. I forget what it was, the great solution or whatever.
Final solution?
No, not the final solution. But it was the idea of essentially the early days of communism.
Right.
And so the McCarthy hearings were kind of rooting some of that out. So if you were a writer, I believe the film starring, who's the guy who was in Breaking Bad?
Walter White.
Walter White, yeah. He just played a writer who had to change his name to be able to get gigs.
That's right. Oh,
Trumpet
my God.
or
Trumbo.
Trumbo.
Yes,
Trumbo. Yeah,
exactly.
So that was all the craziness that was happening. If we thought you were a Rusky or a socialist,
or a sympathizer,
you'd lose your job back in the 50s.
Exactly. So this guy McCarthy hailed from Nick's shit kicker state, Wisconsin, actually. And his reign of terror rained down on this country. It was incredibly powerful to the point where he fired hundreds of people in the State Department, and to the point where the Secretary of the State at that time, John Foster Dulles, could do nothing about it but pray that he was not getting fired as well because he wanted to keep power. So imagine that today. Maxine Waters or Jim Jordan, pick your least favorite, just dragging people on television and firing them and just smearing their name almost every day. It's unbelievable that was going on at that time.
Well, it's happening throughout American corporate
it's happening
headquarters.
on Twitter. Yeah, it's happening on Twitter.
It's still happening.
Yeah. So that stretch of power came to an end because Roy Cohn flew his fabulous little wings a little too close to the sun. Now, the McCarthy era ended when he went after the Army. He'd gone after Hollywood, fellow congressmen, people in the State Department. Side note, he tried to go after the CIA, but it didn't work because Allen Dulles was a little too tricky a character to allow his agency to be made a fool by this man. He knew too much. He knew that J. Edgar Hoover fed McCarthy all of this dirt on people. And Hoover had a dossier, or Dulles had a dossier on Hoover the size of War and Peace. Now, Hoover was a notorious cross-dresser, homosexual, got into lots of weird stuff, had a weird relationship with his mother. He was heading up the FBI, and Dulles had pictures of old J. Edgar Hoover getting his cock sucked by his buddy Clyde Tolson. So Allen Dulles was like, don't come for me and the CIA because I know way too much about all of you, and it's all going to get fucking nuked in the court of public opinion if you try to touch me.
Sidebar.
Yeah.
Do we ever remember the absurdity of casting Leonardo DiCaprio as Edgar Hoover? Yeah. That is a stretch that is not accomplishable.
One of Gran Torino's worst films. One
Absolutely.
of his worst films.
Absurd. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
we're
it's okay.
talking about. It was just called Hoover, or
J. Edgar, actually.
J. Edgar, but yeah, filmed in the woods of Wisconsin.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Much
yeah.
of it, and Indiana.
So the reason why McCarthy aimed his sights at the Army was because of a tight little asshole named G. David Schein. Now, G. David Schein was a catch. Harvard grad, family were hotel magnates, and he came on Cohn's radar because this young man took it upon himself to place anti-communist pamphlets that he penned in the rooms of every hotel that his parents owned. Cohn saw one of these and said, "Who wrote this? I'm in love. I hate communists too." Right? So they take up a relationship. They're sucking and fucking, and a sad day comes. Schein gets drafted to the Army.
What war? We got
Korean. So Roy goes to McCarthy and he says, he's my friend.
That was a conflict, by the way. It wasn't an official war. Sorry.
Right. But so he gets drafted, the little fuck toy of Roy Cohn's. Cohn goes to McCarthy. He says, "They can't do this. He's my friend. They can't do this. He's my friend." Right?
Rules for thee, but not for me.
So McCarthy calls the Army and he says, "Listen, G. David Schein is Roy Cohn's friend. You can't do this." To which the Army replied, "Sorry? What? He got drafted. He's
going.
He's going.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do.
He's going, or he better just get a bus up to Canada."
Right, exactly. So they do make some concessions. Schein goes to the military. He's afforded every amenity to his heart's desire. He doesn't like the boots they give him. They sew him custom boots. Cohn forges McCarthy's signature on direct orders to allow G. David Schein to bathe in the general's quarters.
Oh, wow.
And all is going well until another sad day comes. G. David Schein is set to be shipped overseas. Now, Roy Cohn says, you can't do this. He's my friend. And they say, sorry, he's going. They say, listen, if you do this, we are going to bring down McCarthyism on the army. And they say, bring it.
Really?
Bring it on. Now,
Hey,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. It's interesting. I always forgot that it became an ism. Like, you know how, like, it's got to be pretty big to be an ism.
McCarthyism?
Like Marxism, plagiarism, like big things.
This was
Can
a
you imagine having
crazy time.
my last name's Hickey. Can you
Yeah.
imagine I reached the heights of being called a Hickeyism?
Right.
I made it. If you got an
Well,
ism on your last name,
yeah.
you're a thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're in the annals of history as one of the worst people and whatever. But yeah, he made it.
Wow.
I'm getting upset because
Davisism.
It's too hard.
Yeah, it's way too hard. Renism doesn't sound very good. So the Army comes with the accusation that McCarthy was putting undue and unlawful pressure on the Army because of Cohn's fuck toy. And McCarthy and Cohn say, you guys are holding on to Cohn's fuck toy because you're all fucking communists and you don't want to get caught. So two rams begin slamming into one another, and they are not shaking hands.
Over a guy who I suspect gives amazing blowjobs.
Amazing blowjob to the chief counsel of Joseph
Can
McCarthy.
you imagine threatening an entire branch of the military, saying, "Hey, look, this guy, he does wonders.
Yeah.
Mind fucking blowing.
He can take 7 all the way down, not even shed a tear. You can't send him to fucking Korea. He's my friend.
And even though it's no problem for him, he makes the noises like I'm big enough for him to too hard to handle.
Right.
Which makes me feel better.
Yeah, it's a talent. So the Army says, let's do it. And this is an example of McCarthy's hubris because this is not even a decade removed from World War II. And remember, the president at the time is Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was the supreme Allied commander against Hitler. So Eisenhower's like, fuck this. Enough of this guy. Let's beat him in a court of law. So this trial went from April to June, I think 1954. It was watched daily by, I think, 20 million people. That's more than the Oscars, right?
Oh, yeah.
Poor
Remember,
example,
not everybody
but
had a
yes.
fucking TV in 1952 either.
20 million people with television.
It's probably everybody with a TV.
Exactly. Crazy.
Do you got radio numbers?
Roughly,
How many people are listening to the radio?
Oh, sorry, I don't have radio
roughly
numbers.
friends at their peak.
Yes,
To put it in
exactly.
perspective for our listeners.
Exactly. So
It's a big deal.
The Army's lawyer is a tricky character named Joseph Welch. And before the trial starts, Joe calls a meeting with Roy and McCarthy. He says, listen, Roy Cohn somehow has never been drafted over the past however many years. It's weird. Many think that McCarthy and Cohn were sucking and fucking, and Schein was the lover that completed this triforce of mean gays, but that's all hearsay.
Right.
But Welch says to Cohn and McCarthy, I won't bring up the fact that Cohn has dodged a draft miraculously for 5 years if you do not mention this. One of our lawyers is a kid named Fisher. He was part of a legal communist outfit. We found out. We sent him home. He's off the case. Do not bring it up. Old Joe McCarthy could not help himself. And gentlemen, the events that unfolded after led to the end of the McCarthy era. I'm just going to play a little bit from this hearing.
Oh, great.
This is just, it's just such a fascinating blow.
Oh, that's I think a jet. That's a
Yeah,
MiG.
we're going to war with China.
Most of that afternoon, Roy Cohn and Joseph Welch had been having, your basic nasty lawyerly argument, and Cohn's okay with it.
Mr. Welch, sir, with great respect, I work for the committee here. They know how we go about handling situations of communist
This is
infiltration.
Cohn
and
talking.
failure to
Cohn
act
and
on
Welch
FBI
are
information about
jabbing at
communist
one another.
infiltration.
And may I add my small voice, sir, and say whenever you know about a subversive or a communist or a spy, please hurry. Will you remember those words?
The condescension and drip in this guy's voice. I mean, this guy is the most unassuming dude, but he is literally the lawyer that killed Joseph McCarthy and McCarthy's hubris. But anyways.
But McCarthy gets so angry at Welch's badgering of Roy Cohn that he blurts out the name of Fred Fisher.
In view of Mr. Welch's request, I think we should tell him that he has in his law firm a young man named Fisher, who has been for a number of years a member of an organization which was named, years and years ago, as the legal bulwark of the Communist Party. And I have hesitated bringing that up.
He looks pissed.
Roy's pissed because he knew that McCarthy agreed to not do what he's doing right now.
To Mr. Cohen here.
Little did I dream you could be so reckless and so cruel as to do an injury to that
This footage
lad.
is awesome.
Yeah.
It is true he is still with Hale and Dorr. It
That's
is
their law
true
firm.
that he will continue to be with Hale and Dorr. It is, I regret to say, equally true that I fear he shall always bear a scar needlessly inflicted by you.
Fascinating.
You'll
with
look
the
at Roy
production.
Cohn's face and you will see him go, oh my God, no, please no. But McCarthy won't stop. He keeps attacking.
I want to say, Mr. Welch, that it has been labeled long before he became a member, as early as 1944.
Senator, may we not drop this? I did you, I think, no personal injury, Mr. Cohn.
No, sir.
And if I did, I beg your pardon. Let us not assassinate this lad further, Senator. You've done enough. Have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you left no sense of decency?
Now that is the line that rings out. It's the infamous line that made the American public go, ugh, you know what? This has been kind of gross, and we've all been hurrahing over this really disgusting period in history. Now, the funny thing about that line is that there was no spontaneity involved in it whatsoever. You may think that Welch is just this wordsmith that just killed McCarthy with this incredible phrase, but Welch knew that McCarthy was going to do this. He knew the man. He was like, when he does what I asked him not to do, we have to get ready with something very sensational. And this was what he did. And this ended the McCarthy era. McCarthy's censured by Congress. He's then voted out. He begins to spiral quite a bit. He hits the bottle harder than ever. And when trying to quit boozing, he begins hallucinating that snakes are attacking him. He dies from delirium tremens in Wisconsin.
What year? I'm always fascinated by the time people die.
When McCarthy died?
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably 20 years later. I think he died in the 70s. I'm
okay.
not sure. Roy Cohn died of AIDS, right? And then G. David Shine died in a ball of fucking fire. He crashed a puddle jumper in our backyard of Burbank, California. He's buried over in Westwood.
Whoa.
And it's just a little history with a little dill.
That's fun.
All right, that's it for us. We will see you guys next week. We need your help. This is a new show on a new feed, so if you liked it or if you didn't like it, it doesn't matter. 5 stars, jump in the reviews, say nice things. You can leave 1, definitely not 2, 3, or 4, although this was a wonderful show, so I don't see how you're going to leave 1. But it would be a huge help, 5 stars and kind words. Also, join us on Patreon if you want to hear another episode of this every week. Patreon.com/anotherpodcastnetwork. We've also got Below Deck and Housewives over there as well. That's it for us. I'm Dylan saying goodbye. Nick, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Pat, say goodbye.
See you later.